This narrow corridor is a major obstacle to reaching a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. It's an area along the border between the Gaza Strip and Egypt, known as the Philadelphi Corridor. After Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt as part of a peace agreement in 1979, the corridor was created as a buffer zone to maintain Israeli security and prevent the smuggling of weapons into the Gaza Strip. But in the 1980s, when Gaza was still under Israeli occupation, Palestinians dug a network of tunnels underneath the corridor. Israel's Prime Minister, Binyamin Netanyahu, claims this corridor was the main route for smuggling weapons used in the October 7th attacks. He insists that it's critical for Israel to maintain a military presence there to prevent future attacks.
I'll do everything I can to get them in. But leaving Philadelphia does not advance the release of the hostages.
But his generals disagree. Security officials say that while some of these tunnels were still in use, the Egyptian army has destroyed most of them. Instead, the officials argued that most of the weapons came overground, through the Rafah crossing, in the southern part of the corridor. The Egyptian officials who managed the crossing were either bribed or turned a blind eye. And some of the material used to build the rockets is likely to have come through legally, disguised as supplies for building houses. Israeli defense experts suggest that the best way to prevent smuggling in the future is to persuade Egypt to tighten its border controls. But Egypt will not discuss any new arrangements for the crossing until Israel commits to withdrawing from Gaza entirely. And Hamas has also demanded guarantees of a full Israeli withdrawal before releasing any hostages. So Netanyahu's demand to keep troops in the Philadelphia corridor is making it harder to secure a ceasefire. Despite public pressure to bring these hostages home,
ציר פילדלפי זה קשקוש, נתניהו לא רוצה עסקת חטופים.
And evidence from Israeli generals suggesting the corridor's marginal strategic significance, Netanyahu wants a military presence in the Philadelphia corridor because it helps him politically.
Calls for a ceasefire, calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas. That will not happen.
His future is in the hands of his far-right coalition partners, who have threatened to leave his government if Israel agrees to a ceasefire. By keeping troops in the Philadelphia corridor, Netanyahu is trying to keep himself in power.